It was a year ago this Sunday that the Boston Globe printed a front-page ideas section imagining what a Trump presidency would look like. The page got a lot of attention at the time, both for being provocative and for being, well, fake news. So 1 year later, what's true, what's not? When the Boston Globe's editorial team produced this satirical front page last year, everyone took notice.
We saw this unusual front page in the Boston Globe.
And Donald Trump didn't miss a chance to take a dig.
The whole front page is a make-believe story, which is really no different from the whole paper.
Now, a year later, just how prescient were those editors? Deportations have begun, and there have been plenty of protests, as the article said. As for this prediction, markets sink as trade war looms. Wrong. Markets have soared in the wake of Trump's election. This one, though, is close. New libel law targets absolute scum in press. The press has most certainly been targeted as scum, but the libel laws have yet to change. As for the infamous Mexican wall, the Globe reported a bank glitch would halt work. Guess you could say that's true because right now, no one is bankrolling the wall. But the biggest truth from this spoof front page, Donald Trump is president. There is no way anybody involved in that front page of the ideas section who produced that could have really, truly imagined that Donald Trump was going to be elected. I mean, the thing was controversial, in part because the disclaimer was really way down on the left side of the ideas section, and some people's newspaper came wrapped in that one, so you didn't. So it was the front of the front. You know, wait, what is this? But I have to say, in some ways, and actually some of the articles were a little bit complicated if you really dug down into what they were saying was going to happen, but it wasn't. It was about 50-50.
I mean, my instinct as an editor is most people pay no attention to editorials. Yeah. Newspaper editorials used to be very powerful things. They have declined in import. So I was just I'm happy to see anyone trying to do something creative to get attention and get traction, and the Globe did that. I was struck as well looking back at it on the libel section. I mean, just this past week, Donald Trump tweeted that when he was accusing the New York Times of fake news, that we should change the libel laws? ? That is a live issue. In reality, he has very little control over that, and it won't happen. But the one defining characteristic from that page for me was the fact that making the press the opposition party has been such a core element of the strategy.
And there it was, right? And the deportations, which of course was the primary story, the primary placement, and that is what has upset so many people.
Well, but deportations were going on during the Obama administration to the tune of 400,000 a year was one of the statistics that I've seen. So, but look, I thought the whole issue was completely infantile and sophomoric and unbecoming of a newspaper that wants to be a world-class paper. That said, what I thought was the most odd about it was how schizophrenic it was, because on the one hand you had the parade of horribles, deportations, economy tanking, right? And then you had this clearly satirical stuff about Kid Rock and Omarosa wanting to do puppet shows from PBS, right? I mean, the whole thing was so. Did they really think that Donald Trump was the scariest thing they've ever seen? Or did they think he was a big joke and he was never going to get elected?
They thought he was a big joke and never going to get elected.
Well, I think they thought he was both.
Yeah.
I liked it. I would have liked to have seen a little more disclosure. I think it would have been more effective if they had dropped it down a little bit and run the normal ideas logo above it so that people were more clear on exactly what it was. But that said, it was pretty prescient in a lot of ways, especially on the deportations. I mean, certainly deportations happened under President Obama, but the focus on
and the fear
it's being drummed up by the press. Absolutely. State reps down in Attleboro or whatever telling people to stay in their homes.
No, that whole Brockton thing, that was a fascinating. Somebody did a TikTok on how that rumor got going in Brockton, and it started in a barber shop, not the media.
Yeah, that's
well, I know, but there are people, some in the media and some in government, who are fomenting this. It's not necessarily the Republicans who are making people scared.
Haven't seen anybody on TV getting deported.
Here's the facts about the deportations. President Obama was known as a deporter-in-chief. Your facts are correct about how many people he sent away. However, the priorities were vastly different, and they have rearranged those priorities for people who are non-violent criminals and to separate mothers from their children. That was not
No, they haven't.
part. Yes, they have. That's part of the law. No. That's the new. Read it. Read the ICE detainers. That's what it says. They are new prioritizing
to separate mothers from their children.
That's right.
That's a priority.
That is that. Go read it. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you where you're correct and where you're not. So this is a big deal, and they were more correct in this fake front page than not with regard to ICE. So I just want to be clear about the deportations. But the other stuff, I thought the piece that you mentioned about Omarosa and the puppet show, actually, they called her, they named her like the education secretary.
Yes,
and she has a very high position now, so that actually
it was
a ridiculous one. You know, she should be called chief sellout, but whatever. You know, in any case, she has a high position. And I think the puppet show is about right to describe what she's trying to do.
I have to say, I found the accompanying editorial equally, if not more offensive than the fake news, because the editorial, in very patronizing fashion, scolded its fingers at Republican Party primary voters and demanded that they go and vote for somebody other than Donald Trump, as if what Republican Party primary voter cares what the Boston Globe thinks? I mean, that would be like Breitbart saying, you know, delegates for Bernie Sanders must do this. I mean,
well, their job is to give an opinion.
Are you comparing the Globe to Breitbart?
In many ways, yes.
Oh, wow.
Their job is to give an opinion, and their overarching point in that editorial was that they felt the respectability of the party. If you're gonna have a good opponent, that's, you know, now you can argue about the arrogance of that. You can, but they were saying, what about a Mitt Romney? What about a respectable Republican?
And actually, I found that very offensive too, because when Mitt Romney was the standard bearer of my party, the Boston Globe did everything within its power to destroy him. So for them to come back an election cycle later and say, oh, you Republicans really should nominate a nice man like Mitt Romney, a little disingenuous.
All right.
Can say that's not